Today I would like to present you another opening repertoire, the Sicilian Taimanov by Nigel Davies. Why I present you this book? Because the part I like is the following, that it gives you a repertoire using the Sicilian Taimanov, but it also gives you a repertoire with the anti-Sicilian. In fact, at the end of the book you can find the index of the variation, and at the end of the index of the variation you can see chapter 10 anti-Sicilian Alapin and Morre Gambit, chapter 11 anti-Sicilian close fianchetto system, chapter 12 anti-Sicilian close system with 2f4, which would be the Grand Prix attack, then chapter 13 anti-Sicilian b2 b3 line, and so on and so forth, right? So why I like this? Because I'm sorry, when I buy a book to learn the Sicilian, I obviously want something that gives me a complete repertoire without telling me, hey, you must buy another book, and another book, because that to me is not really good. Now, what is the Taimanov Sicilian? Because maybe that is your question, right? We can see it in game number 1, that has also a kind of anecdote. Here Nigel Davies is white and is playing against Mark Taimanov. He says, I first met Mark Taimanov at the Paz e Amizade tournament in Lisbon in 1985, a small round-robin event in which he was the invited star. Knowing we would be playing, I watched his games quite closely and then noticed something strange in his game against Jorge Guimarães. Hoping for a repeat of this line, I open with one e4 in my game against him, instead of my habitual knight f3 and g3. This is how the game went. So it was in Lisbon 1985, and Nigel Davies opened with e4. Taimanov plays c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, e6, knight c3, a6, and here Nigel Davies plays bishop e2. There is a diagram here, and it says that Taimanov fought for a few minutes before varying from knight g e7. So maybe in that game against Guimarães he played knight g e7. Here instead he played queen c7. Notice this, we are in 1985. There are no computers that help you with the opening preparation. Probably at that time the computers were around 2000, 2100, but definitely they were not Grandmaster level. Okay? So, as always, the format of the book is also like we have encountered in the Move by Move series, in which there are some questions throughout the game. Here the question is, had he rightly suspected some preparation? The answer is, this is very possible, not least because I varied from my usual one knight f3. Okay, so what do you think white played? And white played f4. He says, after 6 queen c7, I had nothing special in my mind and I was making it up as I went along. This becomes evident over the coming moves, with black achieving a very comfortable position. b5, bishop e3, bishop b7, castle, bishop c5, and here white played knight f5. This was starting to feel uncomfortable, so I decided to exchange the dark square bishops. White could also play queen d2 and then further defend the knight with rook a d1. Okay, so after knight f5, black played knight c e7, bishop takes c5, queen takes c5, queen d4, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, then we have b4 and knight a4, and at this point it seems they agree to a draw. We are at move 14. So yeah, you understand that generally these are what are called grandmaster remis, this kind of grandmaster draws, and they are not really good. But the question here is, why did black agree to a draw? And the answer is, the position is quite balanced here. For example, after this knight a4 could follow, bishop takes e4, right? And then there is knight c5, knight f6, knight takes a6, knight e d5, g3, defending this, probably, king e7, and the last move that he gives is a3. It also seemed possible that my opponent was okay with a rest day in which to do some sightseeing. After his loss to Bobby Fischer in 1971, his opportunity for travel had been severely limited. Okay, so here he also showed some of the preparation to Taimanov that he made, and nothing. There is an interesting part here, the fact that also if Davies didn't play e4, clearly he tried to prepare as much as he could. But again, the problem that in 1985 I don't think there was even a chess base. So probably it was really difficult to prepare, because you had to have a lot of these volumes and look inside for the games of the player you were looking for, you were trying to prepare, and so it was kind of huge, the work was huge, right? Okay, so this was game 1 of the Sicilian Taimanov. Obviously it was just an introduction. I will show you more games in next videos. Thank you.